Hello, my name is Cindy Schlinker-Davies, and I am the Bernalillo County Cooperative Extension Family and Consumer Science Agent who teaches food preservation. So today we are going to talk about prickly pear pickles. This is a refrigerator pickle using prickly pear juice and jicama. Today we're going to talk about something that most people don't do with prickly pear juice, and that is to make some pickles. We are going to make refrigerator pickles today, and we are going to use jicama because the light color of the jicama picks up the beautiful fuchsia color of the prickly pear juice, and so it makes a very pretty refrigerator pickle. Today we are going to start off by making the brine of the prickly pear juice, but before we get to that point, I wanted to point out that I have a juicer here that works quite well for extracting the juice from the prickly pears. There's a couple ways you can do that. My favorite way for prickly pears is to rinse them off once I've picked them. And of course you need to be careful because those little prickles will get all over you if you don't have gloves on or using tongs or something. But I put them in a box or a freezer, something that will work in the freezer. I set my prickly pears in the freezer for about 24 hours to get nice and hard. And then I put them in my juicer, and as they thaw out, they give up their juice. And even if you don't have a juicer, you can just use a pan, and as those pears thaw out, they will give up their juice, and they're much easier to extract the juice after you've frozen them first. So that's a trick that I've learned along the way. I've been dealing with prickly pears for over 10 years now and making a variety of different things with them. And last year we came up with this recipe for prickly pear pickles, and we tried to take it through the canning process, and what we found with prickly pear pickles, if you can them, is the color evaporates. So it becomes just washed out looking jicama. So that was something I had no idea that would happen, and I'm not really sure why, because jelly and syrups hold their color, but the pickles really faded out. So this is a refrigerator pickle, but it's beautiful. And what I will do with starting here is I will post the recipe for you so you can have that, or we'll take a picture of the recipe in a minute. But I've got 4 cups of my prickly pear juice that's been strained and is ready to go. And heads up on prickly pear juice. As beautiful as it is, this will stain anything it touches. So your hands will be covered. I'm wearing a similar colored shirt today just so if it gets on me, I will just blend in with the juice. But it really will stain quite badly. So if you've worked with prickly pears at all, you know that. And it calls for 4 cups of vinegar. Now this is an easy recipe to cut in half, so if you don't want this much, you can certainly half this. So that would be 2 cups of juice, 2 cups of vinegar. This calls for 4 cups of sugar, which I have measured out here. If you don't want that much sugar, you certainly can cut back. Since this is not a canned product, we don't have to have that acid balance that we do when we're canning, or water bath canning. So this is pretty forgiving if you want it a little less sweet. If you want to add a little lemon juice for a little different flavor, you could do that. But I'm just following the recipe that we came up with. So this is 4 cups of sugar. So it's a nice sweet pickle. And then it calls for 2 cups of canning salt. And canning salt is different than table salt, and the reason is it doesn't have iodine in it. And iodine will cause a cloudiness in your brine. So that's why you want to go with canning salt. Kosher salt will work for you. A lot of the sea salt will also work for you. Most other salts except for the table salt that has added iodine to it. So I'm adding that to my pot. And I wanted to point out that your vinegar, this is the vinegar that I use for all of my canning processes, and it's just your standard 5% acid white vinegar. You can use the cider vinegar for this if you want, but it does affect the color a little bit. This vinegar is really important to use if you're going to take something through the water bath process. In our situation today, we're not going to, so it's not quite as essential, but it calls for 4 cups of vinegar, which is quite a bit, and this is definitely cheaper than if you buy some specialty vinegars. 4 cups of that can get quite pricey, so that's what we're using for that. Okay, so we're going to use jicama, and jicama, it's hard to know if you're getting a good jicama or a bad jicama. It doesn't have a soft spot or a brown spot, because it is brown. And most jicama has been dipped in wax, and that's to preserve the vegetable from going bad, because it needs to have a longer shelf life. But sometimes you cut into jicama and you have a lot of brown spots on it, and it looks like we got lucky here. We're going to have a nice white colored all the way through jicama. And if you've got one that has some brown spots, you're just going to cut around those, so it's not, you haven't lost the whole thing, but you do want to make sure and cut around those and throw those out. Now, jicama needs to be peeled, and it's a very tough skin, and so really the easiest way to peel it is just with your knife and just cut it off like that. And I'm not going to peel the whole thing for you now, but you just go all the way around your jicama and peel it that way. And then you're going to cut it in planks, which I have done, and then I've cut it in sticks. So you want a stick that's big enough to actually be a pickle. When I did a class last year with this product, we had some people that were really into the little bitty julienne strips, which were lovely, but they were impossible to pick up. So you want something that is a substantial size enough to pick up a pickle. So I've got a variety of jars that I can use. These nice jars that don't work for canning but do work great for this kind of refrigerator pickle are 2 that I've pulled out because I haven't been using them for canning, but I've had them around. They're too pretty to get rid of, so I am going to use those. I've got this smaller canning jar, and some of my sticks are littler, so I'm just going to throw those in there. They're not going to stand up for me anyway, so I've got a variety of sizes just because of the shape of the jicama. So I'm going to fill my jars with as much jicama as you can get in there. And then I will be pouring my brine right on that. This is a freezer container or a refrigerator container. This is what I use for making freezer jam. So this one's nice, it's a pretty one too, and you can certainly use that. You can use glass or plastic for refrigerator pickles. The refrigerator pickles with the jicama will last easily a month in your refrigerator, and that's one nice thing to use the jicama over like cucumbers. Cucumbers will be about a 2-week at max refrigerator pickle. You could use cauliflower if you wanted to pick up that bright color too. That won't last quite as long, but the jicama will last a good month, if not a little longer, in your refrigerator. After your brine has come to a simmer, which mine has, I've got my ladle here, but I also have this cup measure, which also will pour quite nicely. But it would be a good idea to have a ladle and a funnel just to try to keep down as much of the color mess as possible. So I have got a couple different sizes of jars, as I showed you earlier. And I am going to just fill this up to where the brine kind of covers the jicama. And I will do this on several of my jars here. See, it instantly turns that jicama that beautiful fuchsia color that prickly pear juice is known for. So I do know that there are other varieties of prickly pear that aren't necessarily this vibrant fuchsia color. But in the area of Albuquerque where I am, this is the most common that we have. And I do teach canning classes and a variety of classes, and we do a lot of prickly pear jelly. Jelly is really quite easy to do. It's beautiful, and it's something that's unique to New Mexico, so people like to make that and send it to people that aren't from here, just to show off one more beautiful thing that we have that is not green chili. So we've got our jars of brine and juice. I could add just a little bit more juice to this one, which I think I will in a minute. But we can go ahead and cap these off. This is a strong deal. So isn't that pretty? You can just put that in the refrigerator, and then when you're plating up your food, you can take those pieces out. And I've always thought this would be a lovely plate for a luncheon, if you were doing a luncheon, just to have these hot pink pickles on top of your food, whatever you're making. So I've got 3 different jars here showing a variety that you can make with your jicama. So we really hope that you have enjoyed learning a very simple but beautiful way to use jicama and your prickly pear juice. So just one more way to use your juice. And I usually freeze my prickly pear juice in baggies that hold 4 cups, because that's kind of the standard for the jelly recipe, and it's now the standard for my pickle recipe. So make sure that you put them in freezer bags, seal them quite well, and write on that bag with a marker or a label what it is and the year that it was, so you can remember where it came from. So again, my name is Cindy Schlinker-Davies. I am the County Extension, Bernalillo County Cooperative Extension Family and Consumer Science Agent, and I teach food preservation. So I'm glad you joined us, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the festival, as well as the publication that I helped put out by New Mexico State University, and I know that's posted on the website there as well. That's the Prickly Pear Cactus Concoction publication. Thank you so much.